We've forgotten that there's a God that we have to answer.
Dealing with people who reject truth.
I'm wondering in my mind why life is so difficult for me.
340 million people who are suffering.
Real stories.
Here's a man who's responsible for almost 7 billion people.
Real issues.
How much does peer pressure actually exist?
And real views.
Gangs exist at every level.
This is Real Talk.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Real Talk USA. Today we'll be speaking to local converts here in Milwaukee about their local experiences and national and international experiences related to Ahmadiyyat. Let me introduce with my panel. First we have Dul Al-Hajj Dul Wakar Yaqub from...
Well, I'm living in Milwaukee now, but originally from Detroit.
Thank you. And we have Al-Hajj Jalal Nuruddin from...
Living in Milwaukee as well, originally from Dayton, Ohio.
And next we have Al-Hajj Nasrullah Ahmed.
Living here in Milwaukee now.
And next we have, lastly, but honorably, we have Al-Hajj Rashid Ahmed. And you're from?
From Chicago, converted in 1947.
This is a conversation. So let's be a little relaxed. I'd like to start with my introduction to this topic of sharing experiences and stories. Given the fact that this religion is worldwide, Hajj is one of our pillars of Islam, right? Can you share some of your experiences in that pillar, in that world of Hajj?
Yeah. I would say, to make a long story short in the beginning, my Hajj was actually the beginnings of what Ahmadiyyat really was. I accepted Islam, and I read these books, but going to perform the rites of Hajj actually brought the reality of what Ahmadiyyat was from a universal perspective. Because here in one place, you got all the Muslims from all over the world, and I'm in the middle of all this, and I'm very conscious that I'm an Ahmadi. I'm conscious that I'm an Ahmadi because everyone else around me is telling me I'm an Ahmadi, okay? There were certain experiences that I had that, everyone would say, when you go there, don't let no one know that you're an Ahmadi because you are not permitted to make any distinctions in sex and everything like that. Well, okay, that's fine. I really was focused on the rites of Hajj, but everyone else was trying to make that distinction. And along the way, I was in the sacred precincts, and someone stood up and said, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad is the promised Messiah. Mirza Ghulam Ahmad is the promised Messiah. Mirza Ghulam Ahmad is the promised Messiah. And then he sit back down. No one looked around. I looked at him, but I'm thinking, uh-oh, something's gonna happen. But nothing happened. So I took that to mean that those things that I experienced, which were many on Hajj, allowed me to make that as a landmark into Ahmadiyyat. Because everything that I read, everything that I was able to understand from a theoretical perspective, when I started to talk to people and have interactions with them, I could see exactly where we stood in relationship to the world of Islam.
So parallel to that story, given that everybody on this panel is a Haji, which is remarkable because you don't always get that, okay? Parallel to your story, Brother Nasrullah, you had similar experience or different?
I think speaking for myself, you know, and speaking to the brothers who have made Hajj, I think everyone have had their own experiences. And I think my experience perhaps there might be some similarity there, but I think there's some differences. And I think everyone perhaps, you know, when they make Hajj, I think they all have, you know, their own experiences. So my experience perhaps was maybe a bit different, aside from the fact that I was with my dear brother Haji Jalal, which was a blessing, and my dear brother Haji Rashid Saab.
So this is a reunion.
Well, it's a reunion, in fact, right.
Let's take it as it is. It's a reunion, right?
Right, it could be considered a reunion, and every time I see these two brothers, it creates a bond, aside from we have had a bond before, but I think the bond is even greater that we have made the Hajj together, and we have experienced certain things that perhaps we wouldn't have experienced. Or
blood, sweat, and tears.
Well, that's very true. So it was quite an experience, and you know, in terms of we were there for each other, and you know, but still you're there as an individual. So I think that my particular experience is perhaps different from Rashid Saab and Haji Jalal. But in the experience itself and just being there, and my concentration was that, in fact, this was where, you know, Hazrat Ibrahim, no doubt, was, and Hazrat Ishmael, and also, of course, the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companion. So as soon as I got there, and you know, Rashid Saab was here, and he, you know, explained to us and Malana Azhar Hanif that we're making the Hajj Tomato, which is, I think Rashid Saab is that, the Hajj Tomato, which means we go there, and I think the first thing we did when we went there, Haji Jalal, I think we made the circuit, the Umrah. We made Umrah. So we made the circuit. So, right. So my experience, when I saw the Khana Kaaba, they said that when you see it, you should be able to, you should, you know, pray whatever you pray for, and by the grace of God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will answer your prayer, you know.
So, Brother Rashid.
Yes.
What were your parallels? So, we take a look at Hajj, one experience. Was Jalsas, let's think of your largest Jalsa, your best Jalsa, given you've been to a lot of them.
Yes, I've been to.
Are there parallels? Or are there any similarities, or are there differences?
But no, see, if you just think of this, number one, you use the word Hajj, and then you use the word Jalsa. Jalsa seems to be soft. You know, it's relaxing, Jalsa. The word Jalsa, you know, you feel like you're easing. But Hajj means you got to really get and do something, you know. So when we went to Hajj, the only thought I had was Hajj. Hajj means you got to get there and get to do what you come here to do. Pushing and shoving, if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. That word implies that. The word Hajj gives you a feeling that you got to scuffle. You got to hustle.
Yeah.
Jalsa is just relaxation. So that's the feeling I got from Hajj. And my whole thing was, this is going to be a hardship. Pushing and shoving, elbowing, but you got to stay on your feet.
So with some of my audience members, when they experience and they say hardship, have any of you have ever, it could be anyone, have ever gone through some type of this or similar hardships?
Well, like Brother Jalal had said, that one of the things that brought me to Islam and Ahmadiyyat was hardships and not understanding what hardship was all about. You know, my concepts of hardships was totally different. You know, in Islam it says that life is a struggle. You know, it's a jihad. And that's what drove me to this, because I'm wondering in my mind why life is so difficult for me. I'm a good guy. You know, I'm kind of doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm kind to people. I'm not a murderer. I'm not a thief. So why is life so hard for me? And I think that trying to concentrate on that and figure that out is what brought me to where I am today, because, you know, it's a process that you go through. The first thing popped up in my mind that there's no God, because why am I struggling so hard? But it was a concept that was very difficult to accept when you think about certain instances that you had no control over, but you came out, you came out all right. So, those are things that you would have to bag up, and then you begin to give that a lot of concentration. And then here I am today because of that. And also because of one thing as well, is because I wasn't looking for any religion as a solution to my problem. But in the process, it was just by the blessings of Allah that I met a Muslim. We talked about the concept of God, his compared to mine, and I guess it's stuck in there some kind of way, because when I found myself at the brink of I could say destruction, that Allah grabbed me and pulled me back, that concept somehow came out of nowhere, and I began to understand, like I heard Haji Yaqub's talking about understanding Hajj. Then I began to understand what life was all about and what I had to do.
So my next question is for Brother Khalid Walid. I've known you you've known me for a very long time. What are the benefits of going to Hajj, and what are the benefits of and also one of the benefits of going to a Jalsa?
Well, in my case, the benefit of Hajj was the fact is that it's one of the pillars of Islam. When I first came in, we began to study. It was more of a spiritual journey. It wasn't really about, I wasn't worried about being the hardness of it. I was going there because Allah has invited me to go to his house. The key to the situation is, the only reason why we went through what we went through, we took off our clothes, we wrapped ourselves in the sheet, it's for the sake of Allah only. In a lot of ways, we did not realize what we was doing. If we had to do this for any other reasons, I think that most of us wouldn't even bear it, go through all that trouble. We would go the easiest way. So that's the key to the whole situation.
Given that experience and the experiences that you've had, Brother Nasrullah, what advice do you have for the youth about going on those hardships, those journeys and those experiences? What advice would you give them?
Well, I think for our youth, whether they're converts or whether they inherit the religion, I think that I would submit to them that they, in fact, we have been taught that certainty of knowledge. A young person is always searching for something. Even if you're born Muslim, eventually you get to a point in time in your life where you want to challenge your parents. Like, is this for me? I don't think so. Or you want to look at different philosophy. So to have certainty of knowledge, I think that they should try. No doubt they can read the book and read about the Hajj. But I would submit to them, while they're young and they have energy and they're virile and they have all the good stuff going, I would submit to them they should try to make that Hajj, because then that experience would help to ascertain their faith. And I think that they'll be able to then, when they speak about the religion and the 5 pillars of Islam, they can talk from experience. Now, the experience that they have had might be totally different, as we have mentioned earlier, from maybe some people who have been there before. But at least within the context of their conversation with their friends and people around them, as a young man or a young lady, they could say, well, I have made the Hajj as a young person. These are the experiences that I've had, and this either transform me and give me much more better knowledge than what I had before. So I would submit for our young people to do that.
Jazakallah. So given the fact that we have a previous history, and we all understand that you gentlemen are world travelers in your own right, first I would like to start with this question of Qadian. And we all understand the significance behind Qadian, but we're going to go a little bit more in depth with that significance. So, Brother Rashid,
yes, brother.
Can you explain your experiences in Qadian?
Yes, I can explain them. They were very enjoyable, and actually, see, the experience that you have, or the experience that you can get, is by the grace of God. I mean, there could have been so many people there. But now, because there were a lot of people there, but the fact that I went there under certain conditions, meaning that I would get the blessings because of that activity. Now, what blessings did I get there? All the sacred places that we have there, I had unlimited time. I could go and sit in Bateau d'Or as long as I like. But nowadays, if you go there now, there's always so many people there, so the time is limited.
So for the people that don't know, what is Bateau d'Or? What is the significance?
Yeah, this is a room where the Prophet Messiah, peace and blessing, Allah be upon him, used to go and sit and say his prayers. Bateau d'Or, house of prayer. That was a space that he used to use for that. Now that's still there. But if you go there now, you're there at a limited time because there's so many more people are there. See, one person can't occupy the place all the time, Right. Because The room in itself is a blessing. The atmosphere in the room is a blessing. Now, what is a blessing? A blessing is what makes you content, give you contentment. For example, the hustle and bustle of trying to get ahead in this material world. I mean, it's just a scuffle, it's a hustle. But when you go to a place where you can feel relaxed, that's a condition. And Baptist Wall had that condition. So, I mean, why? Because the promise I prayed there, that atmosphere was still there and still there now today. I mean, you go there, you feel relaxed. You're not hyper. You want to run here and run there. You know, you're contented. And that's the blessing of the place, you know, contentment.
So, Brother Jalal, you visited Baltador yourself?
I did. I made what we call the Jalsa in 1980. So I went to Qadian, which is where our movement originates, as you know, and I went to Rabwa. And so I did get to go to Baltador. And just a little interesting point on that, people would be lined up there because they wanted to go pray during different prayer times. But I just went there in between prayers and just made some nafils, which is supererogatory prayers. So it kind of got around being there with the crowds, and I got to spend about 15 minutes in there as opposed to, you know, 1 minute and you're out.
So did you feel the same experiences as Brother Rashid did in terms of being relaxed and being able to release?
Yeah, and for me, it was just, again, the significance that the promised Messiah, alayhi salam, that was where he prayed, and just sort of a reverence, and there was some awe to it, you know, awe-inspiring, and, you know, and there was a sense of peace all throughout. Being in Qadian, it's a pretty peaceful place, and but it's sort of hectic too, because you're meeting so many new people and so many new experiences, and you know, much different cultural experience than you would have here. So, you know, a lot of mixed feelings, you know.
Thank you. Brother Nasrullah, can you share your experience in Qadian?
Yes, absolutely. Like my previous brother said, my dear brother Rashid Saab and Brother Jalal, in fact, it was a grand experience for me. You know, as a young man, I was on what you call a spiritual quest, no doubt. And when I went there, in fact, I was really impacted by so much. And I was overcome by so much, but the warmth of the people. And keeping in mind, as Brother Jalal mentioned, that this was where the Ahmadiyya movement in Islam started. The Ahmadiyya community started. This is where the promised Messiah, this is where he was, and this is where all those companions, the 313, that I would read about and hear about, this is where they resided. But more importantly, when I got there and I saw some of the brothers that was there, and they began to cry, and I began to cry. And I kept asking myself, you know, why am I crying? And then I would ask them, you know, why are you crying? And they would say to me, you know, brother, when I look at you, you're coming from America. America is tens and thousands of miles, and the promised Messiah have told us, and some of the Sahabas, that his message would reach the furthest corners of the earth. And so when I look at you, I'm seeing a fulfillment of the words of the promised Messiah, that this fulfillment of the prophecy, that his movement would reach the furthest corners of the earth. When I look at you, I'm seeing that right now, and not only that, but I'm seeing you as a brother, as a black brother coming from America in fulfillment of that. So when he tells me that, I break down myself. Right. And so just the whole experience of, you know, it's like you've gone back into history. Brother Jalal mentioned the reverence. You know, you can feel the spiritual aspect. You can feel the presence of the promised Messiah when you go into the Baltador. Rashid Saab have mentioned the place where the room of prayer. You know, when I went there, I was struck. I was a young man, and I was with your father, in fact, Dr. Muhammad Sabir. We was there together. And as I went there, we were racing to get to Qadian, because we have read so much and hear so much about Qadian. So I ran into the yard, and I look up, there's a long step. And I was running, and I look, and there was a person standing there. He looked like he was 8 feet tall, a giant of a person. And I stopped immediately, and that was the brother of Hazur, that was Hazrat Mirza Wasim. He was a young man, and his presence, I could see the light coming from him. And that's basically part of the whole experience that we have had there. It was, in fact, a grand experience. and it left an indelible mark on my soul and my spirit, and I try to share that with my family and with the brothers I see. So I would submit to my young brothers. I would submit to them. Those who have not traveled to Qadian, make it part of your mission to do that. As Muslim, we have the 5 pillars of Islam. The Hajj is one of them. But definitely travel and get a chance to meet other brothers, and it'll further your mission in terms of your strive towards becoming a spiritual person.
So that being said, being a black man in Qadian, can you share your experience, brother Dul Wakar Yaqub? Can you share your experience being a black man in this foreign land?
Right.
Maybe not so new to Islam, but fairly new.
Right. Well, the first impression that I received about Qadian was that it was quiet. For an African American, just to have quiet, that's a big deal, because we normally live in urban areas and it's a lot of noise going on all the time. Outside of that, my experience as an African American was that no one made it a point to let me know that I was an African American. As far as anyone was concerned, I was just a brother. That was important. So what I experienced there, in addition to being in a place that was quiet, and when I say quiet, I mean when you read the books, that's one thing. But when you go there and you see the white minaret and you can actually go up in there, there's a certain amount of peace and quiet that is residing within you that you can touch that very well. But as an African American, there was no one there that said, well, you're not as good as we are. I felt that I was an equal partnership in this faith, in this religion. So that was my immediate experience there.
Brother Jalal, can you share some of your experiences and what you felt when you first entered Rabwa?
Well, let me think about that. You know, I guess Rabwa was a whole different thing. It's a little more sophisticated, and the housing was, we were in a dormitory type building and brothers together, so that was the camaraderie of being with various brothers that we were on the trip together, but now we were staying in these rooms, like 4 to a room, and more modern conveniences, showers and so forth that we didn't have in Qadian, and so it was that was a relief. But I think the Qadian, I mean, the significance in Rabwa was mainly that the Khalifa was there, so our spiritual leader, and so that was the big thing there, is that you go to the prayer, and then the Caliph himself is there at the prayer, and you're anticipating your audience with him, because each country would get an audience with our Caliph, and especially Americans coming from so far, and so that was something we were anticipating. Just looking at the mosque, and then just being in a place where it's all Muslims, and it's like you're at home, you know, with your faith. It's not like here where there's, I mean, I'm not guarded, but it's nobody to share it with on a moment-to-moment basis. And here it's just everybody's Muslim. The women are all dressed modestly. You know, everybody's going about their business. You know,
you can basically just
don't have to worry about somebody stealing something or being confronted with certain things. Not much traffic as far as automobiles. Just a whole different thing. Very peaceful, but also energizing. You have the bazaar you can go check out where they're selling some stuff, and you know, it's just a whole grand experience.
As we see, experiences and stories, they go on for a while. I mean, with every person you have a book. With every person you have an epic and a novel. That's the end of part 1, and part 2 will be later.
Another milestone in the history of MTA. Another sign fulfilling the prophecy revealed to the promised Messiah alayhi salam. I shall cause thy message to reach the corners of the earth. By the sheer grace of Allah, MTA's broadcast can now be seen on your mobile phone anytime, anywhere in the world. Watch MTA International wherever you are with our new mobile streaming service. Simply visit www.mta.tv on your iPad, iPhone, BlackBerry or Android device and choose the stream of your choice.
Welcome back to Real Talk USA. Now, we're still sharing experiences about Ahmadiyya and our local converts here in Milwaukee. What I want to go into a topic that I want to go into a topic that is very dear and near to my heart. Just recently, I came back from the JALSA UK 2011, and in July, and I had an experience. So my experience, I went in to visit our beloved Khalifa, and I was able to connect in such a way that my heart jumped out of its body, so to speak. I was able to experience what some people would call an outer body experience, but you know, it was just such excitement that I had. What was for you all who have visited on numerous occasions, multiple Khalifas, what was some of your experiences? Can you share those?
You mean our visits with the Khalifa
Yes.
of the time?
Yes.
Well, that is the principle and its concept of Khilafat is what binds us all together into one. And so that is number one. Number two, at least for me, is what type of relationship do you have with the Khalifa of the time? And I think that that's one of the miraculous things is everyone can have a relationship with the Khalifa of the time, if they want one. And the Khalifa, what I have observed is that he will always make you feel as if that you're special. No matter what's going on, and I listen to people as they talk about their visits with the Khalifa of the time, and they always seem to come away with, I was special. He made me feel like that. And I think that adds, that boosts your faith. It allows you to recharge your batteries, so to speak, and you can keep on going, and you can still remain engaged in the struggle, because it is a struggle. But it's very, very important. I would advise all the young people to write Hazur, develop a relationship with the Khalifa of the time. That in itself would allow you to be able to have sustainability into the task that we have to do. That's my viewpoint on that.
Brother Rashid, you've had sustainability. I have what? You've had sustainability.
I have had.
You have.
Yeah, I have.
You have
sustainability.
Have. You have sustainability in Ahmadiyya. Yeah, exactly. That's sustainability.
Okay. All right. I'm still living, so don't use had.
No, have. Let's condense it. How many Khalifas have you had the opportunity to visit, meet, and share?
I have had very close relationship with Khalifatul Masih Sayyid II, very close. And actually, that closeness was to teach the Jamaat a lesson. Now, what was the lesson he was to teach the Jamaat? I went there So in Pakistan, the color of the skin means a lot. In fact, if you ask a young Pakistani about marriage, he wants safed, meaning white. If you ask him what kind of woman he wants, he says safed. Maybe he come down, he maybe want a lady doctor, but she won't be safed. So white there is very important, color. So I didn't have the color. So I think the lesson that Khalifa Tumid Sani wanted to teach the Jamaat, that if he, of his high position, can give me that much time, the Jamaat members should also imitate him and give me some of their time.
So you've had experiences with 3 Khalifas?
Yes,
and
2,
close
3,
bonds.
4, 5, yeah. I have not met the first Khalifa. I was in the So I met the second, third, fourth, and now the fifth.
So 4.
No, the 5th Khalifa here is now, man.
Right.
So I have connection with him now. Right.
So are you, so have some of our audience members had any experiences with any Khalifas?
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Usman Villegas. I've accepted Islam Ahmadiyya a little bit over a year ago, and I had the pleasure of meeting the Khalifa. I made it a point when I signed Bay'at that I signed 10 conditions, and under those conditions, that's what I was going to live my life as. So one of the things that I wanted to do was to actually meet Huzur and have the pleasure of letting him know how Islam Ahmadiyya is changing my life. So it was a very, very emotional experience for me when I went to go and visit him. I would recommend all the new converts, whenever they get the opportunity, to definitely make the trip. It will bring you closer to your faith. And one of the things that we have to continue to do is ask ourselves, what are we trying to do for Islam Ahmadiyya? Because Huzur is out there doing something for Islam Ahmadiyya every day. So it's a constant struggle to increase our faith. And we have to continue to be role models for each other. And through these experiences that we shared to one another, I think that is the best way that Islam Ahmadiyya will continue to strive.
Brother Nasrullah, in what moments did you find so inspirational when you met the Khalifa?
I think that just the anticipation, number one, in sitting wherever you are. You know, you have his secretaries, and the secretaries are telling you, okay, brother, your turn is coming up, and you're nervous, you're biting your nails, and you're doing all kind of stuff. You know, at least myself.
What
you know,
reminded me was the smell. The smell.
Right,
the
exactly.
aroma that came out of the Khalifa's office.
That's right.
It was so strong.
Right.
Did you have the same experience?
Well, I think that, you know, oftentimes my brothers always tell me it must be like a spiritual perfume. You know? So, you know, you're going into, it's like that whole light and the spiritual aspect just seems like it just transcends everything around you. So, but of course, when I see him, again, I mentioned that you're lost for words. All you can do is embrace him. And if you're strong enough not to, where the tears comes down, because again, you know, with the person, here's a man, in fact, my dear brother, here's a man who's responsible for almost 7 billion people. So if he's responsible for over 7 billion human beings, then Almighty God, the Creator, give him whatever he needs in order to take care of these 7 billion beings. So here you're in the company of this person, the most powerful person on the face of the earth, spiritually, man who's closest to God. So when you encounter that, you just cannot do it but fall down.
That's 7 billion people. We have one more questioner. Can you share your experiences and then maybe relate them to our panelists?
Well, I accepted Islam in 1974, and I met most of these brothers when I came into Jamaat. And like Brother Haji Yaqub said, that it's been a process, because when I accepted Islam in the Holy Prophet Muhammad. And after that of coming to the mosque and studying about the Promised Messiah, and then everything really began to fall in place. And my daughter asked me one time, you know, how do I stay with Islam? How do I remain so dedicated? And the only thing that I could answer that question is that everyone that I see Ahmadiyyat is, every brother in Ahmadiyyat is a superstar. Is a superstar. And I draw my energy from all the brothers and all the love and all the concern that they have for me. I have never been a member of an organization that has so much depth and resources. And when I say resources, I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about resources and experience that I could go to and draw from to help my life become easier, help me become a better Ahmadi Muslim. It just made me an all-around person, being in Ahmadiyya movement in Islam. And it has not been a day to go past that I have not enjoyed life, period. A question for the panel for me is how do you keep your energy and your desire in Ahmadiyya going?
We can start with you, Brother Rashid.
Say that question again so I can.
You know, what is the motivating factor? And Brother Rashid, you've been around forever, and you probably dear to every brother and every brother that comes in. What's the thing? And your energy seems to be the same level or even higher since I met you and coming to Jamaat. What keeps that energy going and going up and up and up?
See, it's like, and it's life. What is life? Life is something that you live. Life is not something that you talk about. You got to live life. So when you become a Muslim, an Ahmadi Muslim, and you get to understand Ahmadiyyas, you get to understand the purpose of your existence, and that is to please God. So when you start to strive to please God, to Allah, then He instills in you something for your effort. You get something from your effort. And that what you get for your effort is that to do that more. I mean, you don't do it and then back off from it, because it's like something that you see that you want. If something you see that you want, you don't stand back and don't try to get it. So the love of Allah is something that you see, something that you want, and how to get it? Through the teaching of Islam.
So regarding that energy, regarding that love, Brother Nasrullah, can you explain your that energy and that feeling when you first visited the UK, where our beloved Khalifa is?
Sure. I think that you know, I've had the opportunity of visiting UK twice, and again, I think that wherever the Khalifa is, that's where the energy is. You know, and I think that you want to be where the Khalifa is. Like Rashid Saab have mentioned, that, you know, that if you're tense, if you're having, we all have problems. You know, the only perfect person we say is the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and God be upon him. So we all have problems. We all have challenges. You know, most of us are married, so we have children. Some of our children are young, some are grown. We have challenges with my children to go to school. My daughter want to get married. My son want to get married. I want my kids to be good Ahmadis. So when you have all of these things piled up, you know, you say, I'm going to visit my Khalifa. Because we say the Khalifa is, you know, I studied and said he is the mercy for all of humanity. So if he's the mercy for all of humanity, then I'm going to the person who is, he's got a ticket. He's the antidote for whatever is ailing me. So I'm going to go to the Khalifa and talk to him. So whatever is ailing me, I'm running to the Khalifa. And usually when I get there, and if I have an opportunity to see him for a minute or a second, whatever is ailing me is gone for that moment. Now I'm a human being. Now when I leave there, something else might happen. But while I'm there, absolutely peace of mind. In the Holy Quran, you're talking about, you know, you're trying to reach the different level of spirituality, and you're going to feel this thing and feel that thing. When I'm in the presence of the Khalifa, it's like everything is gone. I don't worry about death. I don't worry about life. I don't worry about family or wife or kids. I'm just having a peace and contentment. So that's one of the reasons why I strive, if I have the opportunity, and I again encourage my young brothers to do that. You have to develop a relationship with the Khalifa. And from there, so when you leave him, you want to hold on to that feeling. So how you hold on to that feeling? You try to, like Rashid Saab would say, pray more, read more, try to, in my action, do those things that will make me a better person. You know, the Hazur said that you know, if you can't go out and preach, you know, I feel that the treasure that I have, when coming to Ahmadiyya, I found a treasure. The promised Messiah, peace and blessing of God be upon him. He always say that he have found a treasure. So I've always think about that. I say that treasure the promised Messiah is talking about, I want to be able to see if I can find some treasure. So I say I find a treasure in the Khalifa. Mm-hmm. So when I leave him, I want to be able to hold on to that feeling. So how do I do that? So I go back and read about his life, read about the life of the promised Messiah, read the life of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing of God be upon him, try to pray, try to be consistent in my prayer. And if I can't talk to anybody and tell them about this feeling I'm having, I try always to check myself so that when I'm outside of my immediate home environment, that my action will be pleasing to the people around me. Even if I don't say anything, that they can at least, whatever I do, I make sure that I'm doing it to please Almighty God.
So having a conversation, Brother Jalal, with this gentleman here, can you share your experiences in Ahmadiyyat and give us a brief question to our dear Brother Jalal?
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Hasim Abdullah Babatu, and when I first accepted Ahmadiyyat, I could relate to what the brother back here was saying about being a Sunni, and all the things that I said that I would stop doing when I accepted Islam, the organization I was a part of, they were still doing. From doing drugs, womanizing, adultery, you know, transgression, fornication, just everything. And one day I happened to turn on the TV, and the show Islam Live was on, hosted by Dr. Muhammad Sabir, your father, and Mr. Rashid Ahmed. And they said, Ahmadiyya moving in Islam. I was like, I never heard of Ahmadiyyat. What is Ahmadiyyat? So I got thirsty for just wanting to know.
How thirsty were you?
I was thirsty. It's like a man in the desert. You know, ain't had nothing to drink. I was thirsty because every week when this show came on, every Wednesday, I was at home, turned that TV on, and I would call in and ask questions. Every question I had, they answered.
So you weren't one of the prank callers. You were
no, I was never a prank caller. I was seeking knowledge. That's what I was looking for. I was trying to find the true Islam. They answered all my questions. And then I know one day I was actually working out here in this alley, and I seen Mr. Rashid and Muhammad Sabir, and I told him, I said, well, you know, I'm usually the brother to be calling y'all sometime. He said, brother, come on in. We here every day. I got down on my knees. I prayed. A few weeks later, I walked through that door. Mr. Rashid was sitting there, and he asked me, what are you here for? I said, I'm here to sign by it. And to this day, it is absolutely the best thing I ever did was to accept Ahmadiyyat, which is December the 12th of 2004. That's when I accepted Ahmadiyyat. I will always remember that day. And now a question for Brother Jalal. I know you've been around in the movement for a while. Have you experienced anything outside of Ahmadiyyat, like any other brothers that really want to know what really Ahmadiyyat is really about, but afraid to leave other groups, other organizations, you know, if be it the Nation of Islam or just Sunnis or Shiites, because they're afraid what other people may say about Ahmadiyyat? You know how they say that Ahmadis are not really Muslims. Have you ever encountered any people like that?
That's every day. So that's really, I mean, I would really say that's the essence of the struggle to have a relationship with God. So what we say in Ahmadiyyat and Islam, outside Ahmadiyyat as well, is a person should be a seeker after truth. But what we find, what my experience with people is, and whether it's other Muslims or just other people in general, is that people are not interested in the truth so much as staying with something that's comfortable to them. And most people are not willing to give up a comfort zone to seek the truth. So what they want to do is make the truth fit their own concept or their own lifestyle or what their parents taught them or how they think it should be. And something that may give them a sense of contentment, but I would submit a sort of false sense of contentment because it's like making it fit instead of like, what is the truth? Because what God we think ask of us is that we submit to him. But what people do is want to make God fit an image that's comfortable for them. And they also want to, you know, so for instance, I had two people, more than two, but two people in particular come to mind that said they believed. So I was doing some preaching at a university here in, actually in Racine, Wisconsin. And I did that, we were doing that weekly. And so two people, through the course of our preaching and discussions, myself and Brother Abu Bakr would go there. They accepted Islam and Ahmadiyya, but they wouldn't do it formally and they wouldn't come out in the open because in both their cases, they said their parents would either cut off their funds or ostracize them if they accepted. So now, so first of all, God is the one who would judge them and deal with them on that. They may be a better person than I am, and 100,000 times better. But my point is they were not willing to actually do what even they thought was have a full relationship with God because they let it be limited by what their parents were going to think or how their parents were going to react. So, I mean, that's just an everyday occurrence. And from little truths about people, little issues. I'm a teacher at a college, instructor, and every day I deal with people that just don't want to deal with the truth about what's going on with themselves, like things that block their learning. Well, it's the same kind of thing. People want to be comfortable, but maybe that's not taking you where you want to go, or where even you say you want to go. They say they want this, but are they really willing to do what it takes to have that,
Brother Hakeem, can you share some of your experiences?
Assalamu alaikum.
Mike Salam.
My experiences are many, but I'll try to, just in a nutshell, just say that I accepted Ahmadiyya in 1967, but, and I credit that to one of the members of your panel who's here right now, and that would be Brother Rashid Ahmed. And we were always intrigued by the travels and the work that he would do for Ahmadiyya. We had no understanding of Ahmadiyya as a young man.
So you're coming from what city?
I'm coming from Waukegan, but I'm the president of the Zion Jamaat, so most of my time is in Zion. But Rashid Ahmed used to travel from Milwaukee into our area with another young man who was no longer with us, and that is Brother Ali Razar. May God be pleased with him. And they spent so much time working with what I would say the young people of the area there. They spent a lot of time, and I always wondered how he could do it, how he could live a life up in Milwaukee, and they spent so much time in our area, the Waukegan, Zion area. The thing that really impressed me was the more I learned about his life, the more I wanted to be like him.
So was it like community work?
No, it wasn't so much community work. It was the spirit of Tabligh. You see, Rashid talked about it earlier while we weren't on the air, and he was saying that there are certain arts we have to learn. All these gentlemen, these esteemed gentlemen on this panel, they all understand it, they all know it. A lot of young people today don't know it because they're caught in the technology. They're used to communicating by email, by Twitter and all these different things, but they know the art of what we call the chit-chat. They know how to go out and Tabligh one-on-one with anyone. When we get on a plane together, you should see the magic that occurs on a plane when we're going on a trip together.
That doesn't happen where you're watching TV.
No, there's no TV needed because they're so entertaining. And then there's a learning experience from each and every one of these gentlemen sitting there. But Rashid Ahmed in particular, when you think of his life, that I think I was born in 1948 and he was an Ahmadi before that after the partition. Here this man is over in a new country, Pakistan. Why? How did he do it? And that would be my question to him right now, is how did you do it? Why did you do it?
For example, you have said something. I left here with a ticket on the Pan American Airline. The ticket cost me $750 for the ticket. Now, I left here and I had in my pocket only beside the ticket, only $50. I did not know where, when, or how I was going to manage it. Now, I got in all kind of problems. I had some very serious problems. I had some problems such as I, who didn't know nothing about international travel, was going to be held for spying for the Israelis. Now this happened, now we're talking about what, 49 now, right? 48, 49. And that's when Israel came in existence, 47. So I took packages of goodwill, say, brother, when you go to Lahore, give this watch to my cousin. Okay, I take the watch. When you go to Karachi, give this overcoat to my brother. So I'm taking all these gifts. I got all these gifts to deliver when I get there. Now, when my flight was from New York to London, London to Rome, Rome to Damascus. But they changed that flight. I know about international travel. They changed the flight, and still going to Damascus, they changed the flight to go to Iraq. Now you know that as long as you're in the airport, you don't need no visa for that country, as long as you're in the airport. So when I got there, I felt, oh, now let me go into town to see how Muslims live. So I went into town. Although I was in Iraq, but I should not have been there. But as long as I stay in the airport, it's no problem. But I went to town, and the security said, come and show me some kind of ID. I gave him a passport. He said, yeah, but there's no endorsement for here. I said, where's your visa at? I didn't know what a visa was. I said, it's all there. He said, no. I said, wait, you have to come with me. When they say you got to come with me, you are under arrest. You can't say, no, I'm not going to go with you. You are going with me. They take hold of you. So, okay. So then he took me back to the airport, and then the plane left me there. I'm left there. I don't have nothing about international travel. I'm left in Basra, Iraq. So they took all of my luggage off the plane, and the plane just left. So now, the interrogating officer asked me, and where are you from? I said, I'm from America. The other man, one of his associate, he said, no, he's not from America. He said, I said, I am from America. And the other officer said, why you say not from America? Because Americans don't travel with two overcoats. I got one overcoat I'm supposed to deliver in Lahore, and I got on overcoat. And I said, oh, I didn't know what to say. I said, well, no, I'm American. And he said, look at this radio. Someone has sent a radio. He said, this radio with an adapter can become a wireless set. A wireless set? Man, I have no idea what you're talking about. That's what you have to say. You know, I don't know what you're talking about. You know, even if you know what you're talking about, you say, I don't know. So, okay, the next thing they say, here he got some shirts, he got Parker pen sets, he got all these gifts. So what are you doing with those? So one of them said, well, what do you do? He sell these and get petty cash. And in the night, he sleeps in the desert and use that other coat for cover. And then he get on his wireless set with his adapter, and he makes his contact. And that was serious business, man. That was serious business. So then they say that, okay, he come from New York, so he must be connected with the Jews. So he out in the desert with overcoat for cover, on his radio, contacted. So, okay, now, I said, man, you know, I don't know nothing. These things you say is true, but you can't say nothing different. So then I found one fella who had an office in the airport, and he said, what's your problem? I told him. I went into detail. And in that conversation, the name of a missionary came up, Dr. Khalil Ahmad Nasser. That name came up. Oh, yeah, I know that man. You with him? Yes, sir. Yes, I'm with him. Okay, wait, come on. I'll go. So he took me back to the colonel who had sent me away from there. He said, he's just a simple man. He has no idea what he's doing, and I guarantee you, he's not spying for nobody. So then he said, okay, give me your passport. I gave him the passport. He wrote something in it, and he said, now you can go. Now that's on the passport. That's part of the story. What's the other part of the story? because the whole of the Karachi Jamaat had came there to see me. Because when I left London, they notified that the first fellow from Ahmadiyya that come from America would be riding by this flight. But when that flight landed, I wasn't on that plane, because the plane left me there. So they don't know now where I'm at. Where is it? They have no idea. I went to the telegraph office to send word, and because I didn't speak no Arabic. And the fellow told me, it'll cost you $116. I said, man, I only got $50 in my pocket. $116. I said, oh man, ain't no telegram cost no $116. He said, I don't know. But if you send this telegram, it's $116. But he was saying dinars. His address was dinars, and I thought dinars was dollars.
Closing remarks. What would you say would help to our youth? What would you say to our youth about enhancing their internal spiritual being, enhancing their internal spiritual nature? Briefly, we'll start with Brother Rashid. We're running out of time, so we're going to go for about 30 seconds apiece.
So you start with me, huh?
That's how you play the paddle.
Okay, one thing that you should consider, when the Khalifa wants anything done, whatever it is, you should try your utmost to do it. For example, I've had some very difficult tasks, but it was so simple and easy, I was surprised. The Khalifa Masih Sani used to come to me and said, your minister is in town, go and meet him. I don't know what minister is in town, I don't know where he's at, and how will I meet a minister? You know, look at me, how would I meet a minister? But I always was able to do it. For example, once the Khalifa Masih III, Salas, he said that he wanted to send me on some journey. Okay, Jiazu, I'll go. So I went. It was very difficult, very dangerous. It took me 2 days with the help of another missionary. We went there and we was able to do the job. When I returned, he said, oh, you're back. Yes, Jiazu. I thought you would have been arrested. I thought you would have been in jail. I did too, though.
Brother Nasrullah.
Okay, real quick, I'd like to go back and quote Khalifa Masih II, Hazrat Mirza Bashiruddin Mahmud Ahmed, when he was addressing the Qudam, Majlis Qudam al-Ahmadiyyat, and he said to them, he said that they're responsible for reforming the world. He said you cannot. He said that, in fact, he said that in order to reform the world, the youth have to be reformed. They have to be trained. So I'm speaking in terms of the youth. So Hazur is saying they have to be prepared, so when the time comes, when the Khalifa call upon them, they should be prepared intellectually, morally, and spiritually. So in order for you to reform and transform the nation, whatever problem that we're having now, the youth are the one going to be able to change it. So he said they should be ready, they should reform to transform the world, they have to be trained. So we, the elders, responsible for training them, and they have to be receptive like a vessel, to be willing to listen and to be willing to learn and listen to the Khalifa always, and to be ready to serve and not expect to be served.
So, Brother Jalal, briefly, what are your final comments to your youth?
I think that, I would say that the youth could look at us, the panelists in this room, not just the four of us here, but all of the older brothers who have spoken, and look at those persons' lives and look how Ahmadiyya has made their life what it is. And I think that you will see nothing but success in this room. And you will see no limitations on the development of the individuals in this room. And you don't even really know the half of it because you don't know where we all came from. Most of us would have probably been dead at a young age if it hadn't been for Ahmadiyya. But the point I'm making is, look at these people, look at their success, and deny me that you want that. And then how did we get it? We got it by being present with God in the Ahmadiyya movement and adhering to the system of Khilafat. That's how it happened.
Jazakallah. Briefly, 10 seconds.
2 things, patience and forgiveness.
Patience and forgiveness. Jazakallah to my panel. And inshallah, we'll be able to meet later on.
Inshallah.
And that is our conclusion to our Real Talk USA. Inshallah, we'll hopefully see everyone back here in America soon. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.